What if the secret to regaining muscle strength after 60 is not in eating more eggs, but in nourishing your cells in a completely different way? For decades, eggs have been crowned the gold standard of protein. They are convenient, they are complete, and they are loaded with essential amino acids. But what if, after 60, your body stops responding to protein the same way it did in your 20s or 30s? What if the issue is not how much protein you eat, but how well your muscles can use that protein? This is where the conversation about sarcopenia, the gradual age-related loss of muscle mass and strength, becomes urgent. Sarcopenia is not just about weaker muscles. It is about losing metabolic resilience. It means slower recovery, weaker immunity, higher risk of falls, and even a shorter health span. The tragedy is that it begins silently, often starting in your 40s, and accelerates every decade if left unchecked. Now here is the real twist. Many older adults increase their protein intake, adding more eggs, chicken, and dairy, believing that more protein equals more muscle. But the latest research suggests that after 60, the body's anabolic response, the process that turns protein into muscle, becomes resistant. This is called anabolic resistance, and it changes everything we thought we knew about nutrition and aging. At the cellular level, your muscle fibers are not just hungry for protein. They are starving for the signals that tell them what to do with that protein. And those signals come from a complex interplay between mitochondria, inflammation, hormones, and micronutrients that regulate how effectively your body rebuilds tissue. In other words, it is not just about what you eat, it is about what your cells can use. In today's deep dive, we are going to uncover what science now shows to be far more powerful than simply loading up on eggs or protein powders. We will explore the specific foods and compounds that reignite muscle synthesis, enhance mitochondrial function, and reverse the cellular sluggishness behind sarcopenia. Here is a preview of what you will learn. 1. Why traditional protein advice fails after 60. 2. The overlooked cellular mechanisms that make muscles resistant to growth. 3. The single class of foods that switch muscle repair back on even when anabolic resistance has set in. 4. The key micronutrients that supercharge mitochondrial energy and muscle regeneration. 5. And how you can combine diet, movement, and timing to rebuild muscle faster than you thought possible. So, if you are ready to discover what truly fuels muscle renewal after 60, stay with me, because what you will learn in the next few minutes could change how you age, how you move, and how strong you feel for the rest of your life. For most of modern nutrition history, the message has been simple. If you want to build or maintain muscle, eat more protein. That advice has become so common that it is almost unquestioned. But once you cross the age of 60, that equation changes dramatically. Here is what the research now shows. Older adults can eat the same amount of protein as a 25-year-old, yet their muscles respond far less effectively. The signal that tells the body, hey, we have amino acids build muscle, becomes weaker. Scientists call this phenomenon anabolic resistance. Let me break this down with a simple example. Imagine you are trying to water a dry garden. When you are young, your soil, your muscle cells are rich, absorbent, and full of life. Every drop of protein, every amino acid, sinks in and fuels growth. But with age, that soil hardens. The water still flows, but it just pools on the surface. That is anabolic resistance, plenty of protein available, but the cellular machinery to use it has become sluggish. At the cellular level, this resistance is driven by several factors: mitochondrial dysfunction, chronic inflammation, reduced blood flow, and even impaired signaling through the mTOR pathway, the central switch that controls muscle synthesis. Think of mTOR as the builder inside your cells. When it hears the right signals from amino acids like leucine, from exercise, from insulin, it triggers growth. But when inflammation and oxidative stress cloud those signals, the builder goes silent. This is why eating more eggs or doubling your protein shake does not necessarily rebuild muscle after 60. In fact, studies from the University of Birmingham and McMaster University have shown that even when older adults consume 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein in a single meal, their muscle protein synthesis is still significantly lower than that of younger individuals. So the real question is not, how much protein should I eat, but how can I make my muscles listen to that protein again? The answer begins with restoring the signals, not just feeding them. That means enhancing mitochondrial energy production, reducing cellular inflammation, and resensitizing your mTOR pathways. When those switches are turned back on, suddenly your body begins responding again as if it remembers how to build muscle efficiently. Here's a practical example. Combining resistance exercise with nutrient timing. Performing strength training in a fasted state, followed by a protein-rich meal, can reawaken anabolic sensitivity. This creates a metabolic stress signal that amplifies mTOR activation. Pair that with foods rich in polyphenols, compounds found in berries, cocoa, and green tea, and you boost nitric oxide production, improving blood flow to muscles, which helps deliver those amino acids exactly where they are needed. So, the next time someone tells you to just eat more protein, remember this. Muscle health after 60 is not about how much you eat, it is about how efficiently your body can use what you eat. If this breakdown is resonating with you so far, go ahead and drop a quick comment, and hit subscribe. It helps more people discover this kind of science-backed health content. In the next section, we will uncover the silent force that makes or breaks your ability to rebuild muscle, your mitochondria. These tiny engines determine how youthful or sluggish your muscle cells feel. And when they slow down, everything else follows. Here is what most people never realize about aging muscles. The real problem is not the muscle fibers themselves. It is the power supply inside those fibers, the mitochondria. Your mitochondria are the microscopic engines that generate adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, which powers every contraction, every repair, every signal that tells your muscle to rebuild. When these engines are young, they hum like finely tuned machines. But as we move through our 50s and 60s, those engines begin to sputter. They lose efficiency, they leak more reactive oxygen species, and they trigger a cascade of inflammation that further damages muscle tissue. Here is what happens at the cellular level. When your mitochondria weaken, they produce less ATP, the energy currency that fuels muscle synthesis. Without enough energy, the body cannot efficiently repair damaged fibers after exercise. In addition, damaged mitochondria send out distress signals that activate inflammatory pathways, especially through a molecule called NF-kappa B. This chronic low-grade inflammation feeds right back into more mitochondrial dysfunction, creating a vicious cycle that accelerates sarcopenia. Think of it this way. Your muscle is a construction site, and mitochondria are the generators powering the tools. When those generators start flickering, your workers, the muscle-building enzymes, can no longer operate at full capacity. The result? Weaker, slower, and less responsive muscles, even when your diet and exercise are on point. Now, the hopeful part, and this is where modern longevity science gets truly exciting. Mitochondria are not static. They can be renewed. Through a process called mitophagy, your body can identify and recycle old, damaged mitochondria and create new ones, a process known as mitochondrial biogenesis. The key is knowing how to trigger that renewal. Studies from Harvard and the Karolinska Institute show that mild intermittent stressors, such as fasting, exercise, and cold exposure, act as hormetic signals that tell your cells it is time to rebuild. These stressors activate a powerful protein called PGC1 alpha, which turns on mitochondrial biogenesis. Think of PGC1 alpha as the master switch that rejuvenates your cellular engines. Nutrients play a critical role too. Compounds like nicotinamide riboside and nicotinamide mononucleotide, precursors to NAD+, help maintain mitochondrial communication. Nutrients like coenzyme Q10, alpha-lipoic acid, and carnitine support the electron transport chain, enhancing energy output. And polyphenols, especially those found in pomegranate, olive oil, and green tea, activate the same longevity pathways that fasting does. The takeaway is simple, yet profound. To rebuild muscle, you must first rebuild the engines that power it. Without functional mitochondria, even the best diet and exercise plan will underperform. Let me break it down with a quick visual. Imagine your muscle as a hybrid car. The battery represents your mitochondria, and the fuel tank represents your protein and nutrients. You can fill the tank all you want, but if your battery is dead, the car will not move. Restoring mitochondrial health is about recharging that battery so your protein can actually be used for growth. If you are enjoying this breakdown, consider subscribing. I post weekly deep dives into longevity science and nutrition to help you stay strong, energetic, and sharp for decades to come. In the next section, we will explore the inflammation paradox, how certain types of inflammation destroy muscle while others actually build it. Understanding this difference can completely change how you approach recovery and exercise after 60. If you ask most people what causes aging, they will probably mention inflammation. And they would be right, but only halfway. The truth is more nuanced. Not all inflammation is bad. In fact, the right kind of inflammation is absolutely essential for rebuilding muscle and extending your health span. Let me explain this paradox. When we talk about aging-related inflammation, we are referring to a slow, smoldering fire that never goes out. Scientists call it inflammaging. It is driven by overworked immune cells, senescent cells that refuse to die, and mitochondria that leak free radicals like smoke from an old engine. This type of inflammation damages muscle proteins, interferes with recovery, and shuts down the anabolic pathways you need to build strength. Now here's the paradoxical part. Short bursts of controlled inflammation are beneficial. They are what signal your body to adapt, to grow, to get stronger. This is the basis of hormesis, the principle that a little stress makes you more resilient. Think about exercise. When you lift weights or perform resistance training, you are literally creating micro tears in your muscle fibers. That is inflammation. But instead of being destructive, that inflammation acts like a message to your body. Rebuild me stronger. Within hours, your immune system sends repair molecules and growth factors to those damaged sites, turning inflammation into regeneration. The problem arises when chronic inflammation lingers in the background, dulling that adaptive response. It is like trying to start a controlled campfire in a forest that is already filled with smoke. The signal gets lost. The body cannot tell the difference between a threat and a training response. Here is what the research shows. Elevated levels of inflammatory cytokines such as interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha are directly linked with faster muscle loss and reduced anabolic signaling through mTOR. Meanwhile, short-term inflammation triggered by exercise increases insulin sensitivity, enhances blood flow, and amplifies mitochondrial biogenesis. The key is balance. Too little stress and your muscles atrophy. Too much and they break down. So how do you restore that balance? You start by removing the sources of chronic inflammation, excess refined sugar, seed oils rich in omega-6 fatty acids, and processed foods that disrupt gut integrity. Then you replace them with anti-inflammatory, polyphenol-rich foods that nourish the gut microbiome and calm systemic inflammation foods like extra virgin olive oil, blueberries, turmeric, green tea, and fatty fish. Equally important is to introduce the right kind of stress. Strength training, brisk walking, sauna sessions, and even brief cold exposure activate the NRF2 pathway, your body's internal antioxidant defense system. This is hormesis in action. It teaches your cells to adapt, rebuild, and protect themselves from future damage. At the cellular level, think of hormesis as a conversation between stress and repair. When you give your cells a small challenge, they respond by upgrading their defenses. That is how you shift inflammation from being destructive to being regenerative. If you are finding this helpful, tap the subscribe. If you want more deep dives into nutrition and longevity science every week, we explore the cellular tools to help you age powerfully. In the next section, we will reveal something truly surprising, the forgotten food group that can reverse anabolic resistance and turn your body's protein switch back on, even after 60. Now this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. If you ask most people what foods are best for building muscle, they will list chicken, fish, eggs, or whey protein. All good choices, of course. But after 60, when your muscles have become resistant to protein signals, the game changes. The foods that truly reignite muscle synthesis are not just the ones rich in amino acids, they are the ones that reactivate the machinery inside your cells that uses those amino acids. And surprisingly, those foods are found in the plant kingdom. Research over the past decade has revealed that certain plant compounds, specifically polyphenols, flavonoids, and omega-3 fatty acids, have the power to reverse anabolic resistance by targeting inflammation, mitochondrial function, and cellular signaling pathways. These bioactive compounds work not by supplying more protein, but by making your existing protein work better. Let me break it down simply. Imagine your muscle as a factory. Protein provides the raw materials, the bricks and steel. But if the power grid is weak and the workers are sluggish, those materials just pile up at the gate. Polyphenols are like the electricians who come in and restore the factory's power. Once the lights are back on, the workers start building again. One of the most powerful examples is pomegranate. Studies have shown that pomegranate polyphenols activate genes involved in mitochondrial biogenesis and enhance muscle recovery. In one trial, older adults who consumed pomegranate extract showed improved muscle strength and endurance after only several weeks. Another overlooked hero is olive oil, especially extra virgin olive oil rich in hydroxytyrosol and oleuropein. These compounds not only reduce oxidative stress, but also improve insulin sensitivity, helping amino acids enter muscle cells more efficiently. And then there are omega-3 fatty acids, primarily found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, but also in plant sources such as flaxseed, chia, and walnuts. Omega-3s activate a critical pathway known as PPAR gamma coactivator 1 alpha, the same master switch that triggers mitochondrial regeneration. Clinical trials from the University of Washington have shown that omega-3 supplementation can increase muscle protein synthesis rates in older adults by up to 30%, even without increasing total protein intake. Green tea catechins, curcumin from turmeric, and cocoa flavonols also belong to this category of metabolic activators. Each of these compounds supports nitric oxide production, which enhances blood flow to muscles, a key factor for delivering amino acids and oxygen to repair tissue efficiently. So yes, protein still matters, but after 60, your focus should shift from more protein to better utilization. That means pairing your protein-rich meals with these anabolic activators. For instance, a meal of wild salmon drizzled with extra virgin olive oil, accompanied by steamed vegetables and a cup of green tea, can do more for your muscle health than half a dozen eggs ever could. Here's the big takeaway. The foods that rebuild muscle after 60 are not the ones you have always been told to eat more of. They are the ones that restore your body's ability to use what you eat. Before we move on, a quick reminder: if you are enjoying this, do like, comment, and subscribe. It really supports the channel and helps spread these to more people who need them. Up next, we will explore the unsung heroes of muscle longevity, the micronutrients that supercharge cellular repair and ignite mitochondrial communication from the inside out. If macronutrients like protein, fats, and carbohydrates are the building blocks of your body, then micronutrients are the spark plugs that make the engine run. And when it comes to fighting sarcopenia and rebuilding muscle after 60, these spark plugs are often the missing link. Here is the truth. You can eat the highest quality protein, exercise consistently, and still struggle to gain or maintain muscle if your body is deficient in the key micronutrients that activate the enzymes and signaling molecules involved in repair. Muscle growth is not just a matter of feeding your body, it is a matter of enabling it. Let us start with one of the most underrated nutrients of all: magnesium. Magnesium is essential for ATP production, muscle contraction, and relaxation. Without it, your mitochondria cannot efficiently generate energy. Unfortunately, magnesium levels decline with age due to lower dietary intake and reduced absorption. Studies have shown that magnesium supplementation improves muscle strength, particularly in older women, by enhancing mitochondrial activity and reducing oxidative stress. Next, we have vitamin D, often referred to as a hormone rather than a vitamin. Low vitamin D levels are strongly associated with frailty, decreased muscle mass, and impaired balance. This is because vitamin D influences calcium handling inside muscle fibers and regulates the synthesis of new muscle proteins. Maintaining optimal vitamin D, ideally through sunlight exposure and diet, can restore muscle responsiveness and coordination. Then there is vitamin B12 and folate, crucial for methylation, the process that turns genes on and off. These nutrients influence muscle regeneration by maintaining proper DNA synthesis and red blood cell formation, ensuring your muscles get the oxygen they need to repair efficiently. Creatine, though technically not a vitamin or mineral, deserves a spotlight here. Creatine is one of the most well-researched compounds for muscle health. It replenishes ATP during high-intensity activity and has been shown to improve muscle mass, cognition, and even mitochondrial function in older adults. What is fascinating is that creatine is not just for athletes, it is a longevity nutrient, helping aging cells retain strength and energy. Another powerhouse is zinc. Zinc is required for over 300 enzymatic reactions, including those responsible for muscle protein synthesis and hormone production. Zinc deficiency blunts testosterone and growth hormone, signaling both of which are crucial for maintaining muscle integrity in later life. Finally, let us talk about coenzyme Q10, or CoQ10. This compound lives inside your mitochondria and acts as a key transporter in the electron transport chain, the final step of energy production. Supplementing with CoQ10 has been shown to improve energy levels, endurance, and recovery time in older adults, particularly when combined with PQQ, another mitochondrial nutrient. When you bring all these micronutrients together, magnesium, vitamin D, B vitamins, zinc, creatine, and CoQ10, you are not just feeding your muscles. You are restoring the intracellular communication that tells them when to grow, when to repair, and when to recover. Let me give you a simple analogy. Imagine your muscle is a construction site. Protein provides the bricks, exercise provides the blueprint, and micronutrients provide the foremen who direct the work. Without those foremen, nothing gets built efficiently. So, the next time you plan your meals or supplements, think beyond protein. Think of your cellular repair system and how these small but mighty nutrients can turn the lights back on inside your muscle cells. In the next section, we will explore how timing, movement, and recovery work together as the three essential pillars that determine how effectively your muscles rebuild and how you can synchronize them to accelerate your progress. By now, we have explored the biology behind muscle loss, the cellular sluggishness, mitochondrial decline, and inflammation that make it harder to stay strong after 60. But here is the part most people overlook. It is not just what you eat, but when and how you pair nutrition with movement and recovery that determines how well your muscles rebuild. Think of muscle regeneration as a symphony. Protein is one instrument, micronutrients are another, but timing, movement, and recovery are the rhythm section. Without the right rhythm, even the best players sound off-key. Let us begin with timing. Your body is governed by circadian rhythms' internal clocks that dictate when your cells are most responsive to nutrients, hormones, and repair signals. Studies show that muscle protein synthesis is more efficient when protein intake is spread evenly throughout the day, rather than being packed into a single large meal. This means that instead of having one massive breakfast with 6 eggs, you are far better off consuming 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at each meal. There is also fascinating research around nutrient timing after exercise. The window of heightened protein sensitivity lasts roughly 2 hours after resistance training. Consuming protein, ideally combined with polyphenol-rich foods and omega-3 fats during this window significantly enhances muscle repair and reduces inflammation. Now let us talk about movement. If you had to pick one intervention more powerful than any supplement or superfood, it would be resistance training. Strength training is the ultimate signal for your muscles to stay alive, to grow, and to resist the forces of aging. When you lift, push, or pull against resistance, you create microscopic stress, the very hormetic trigger your body needs to activate mTOR, stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis, and improve insulin sensitivity. For older adults, the sweet spot is combining low-impact resistance exercises such as bodyweight squats, resistance bands, and light dumbbell work with balance and mobility training. You do not need to train like an athlete. You just need to train like someone who values vitality. Even 2 or 3 sessions a week can dramatically improve muscle density and metabolic function. And then comes the most underrated pillar of all recovery. Muscles do not grow during exercise. They grow when you rest, sleep, and refuel. Deep sleep is when your body releases the majority of its growth hormone and orchestrates tissue repair. Skimping on sleep even by an hour or 2 can reduce muscle protein synthesis and elevate cortisol, the hormone that breaks down muscle tissue. Recovery also includes active relaxation. Light stretching, walking, sauna sessions, and breath work help flush metabolic waste from muscles and calm the nervous system, allowing for deeper regeneration. Here is a simple framework to remember. Move every day, even lightly. Strength train 2 to 3 times a week. Sleep 7 to 9 hours in complete darkness. Time your protein evenly across meals. And allow your body to rest, recharge, and adapt. When timing, movement, and recovery work in harmony, you create the perfect biological rhythm for growth. It is no longer just about preventing muscle loss, it becomes about reversing it. In our final section, we will bring everything together, the science, the nutrition, and the mindset, to give you a clear, actionable roadmap to rebuild muscle, restore vitality, and extend your health span well into your later years. If there is one message I want you to walk away with today, it is this: muscle is not just about strength. It is about life itself. Your muscle tissue is a metabolic organ. It regulates your blood sugar, supports your immune system, produces longevity hormones, and protects your brain. Losing muscle with age is not inevitable, it is optional, if you understand how to nourish your body at the cellular level. We began this journey by challenging a familiar myth, that eating more protein, especially eggs, is the ultimate answer to rebuilding muscle after 60. But as we discovered, the real story runs much deeper. It is not the amount of protein that matters most, it is your muscle's ability to use that protein. That ability depends on the health of your mitochondria, the balance of your inflammation, and the presence of the right micronutrients and molecular signals. You now know that. Mitochondria are the true engines of muscle repair, and they can be renewed through exercise, fasting, and nutrient-rich foods. Inflammation can either destroy or rebuild you depending on whether it is chronic or hormetic. Plant-based compounds like polyphenols, omega-3 fats, and green tea catechins are powerful activators that make your protein more effective. Micronutrients such as magnesium, vitamin D, creatine, zinc, and coenzyme Q10 are the spark plugs that power cellular repair, and timing, movement, and recovery form the 3 pillars that synchronize all of these processes into a coherent rhythm of regeneration. So what can you do starting today? Begin with one small, consistent step. Add a serving of fatty fish or a plant-based omega-3 source to your meals 3 times per week. Include a handful of blueberries or a cup of green tea daily. Perform resistance exercise, even light bodyweight training 2 or 3 times a week. Prioritize sleep as if it were your most potent supplement, because it is. Within weeks, you will begin to notice subtle but profound changes. Steadier energy, stronger grip, better balance, deeper sleep, and the quiet confidence that your body is rebuilding from the inside out. Aging does not have to mean decline. It can mean adaptation. It can mean renewal. Your muscles are not old. They are simply waiting for the right signals to wake up again. If this brought you value, like the video, share it with someone who needs this message, and subscribe to join others optimizing their nutrition, cellular health, and longevity. Together, we are not just extending lifespan, we are expanding health span. Because the goal is not just to live longer, it is to stay strong, vital, and deeply alive at every age.